Welcome back, everyone. Apologies for a little bit of a time delay. Richard was having a few technical issues at the jail, so I will let him take over and introduce him, and he will be taking over to give you a fantastic tour and lots of information about the jail. Good morning, Richard.
Good morning. How are we doing?
Good, thank you. How are you?
Good. Yes, thank you. Yeah, technical problems. But of course, the beautiful thing about having technical problems, anything to do with energy, you can always put it down to the paranormal, can't you?
That you can.
And I am in a paranormal place. Welcome to Derby Gaol.
Thank you very much. I will be handing over to you now until 12 o'clock, till just after 12. So I shall be putting you on full screen and you can show everyone or the jail, tell everybody all about yourself, which everyone should know who you are anyway, surely.
I don't know about that. I'm not sure. You never know.
As they say, the floor is yours, sir.
Thank you very much. Well, I said good morning, guys. Welcome to Derby Gaol. I'm standing in front of all that's left, really, of Derby Gaol. It was built in 1756. And I'm not going to go through all the boring history of it. I'm going to just give you the juicy bits, the fascinating, the horrible stuff, the ghostly stuff. It was the county jail, so any crime committed anywhere in Derbyshire, if you were caught, you ended up being brought here. Basically, the situation was that when it opened in 1756, number one, you'd be murdered for the coat off your back if you'd got a decent coat on. And when they opened it, there was actually no segregation here whatsoever. So young and old, male or female, tried or untried, sane or insane, would all be put in the same cells. So I just cannot even begin to imagine the terror, torment, anguish, pain, torture and death that went on. And that's even before you start talking about the judicial side of it, of executions. And when it opened, it was only a jail, and it was held. You were held here until the trial. And there were 4 trials a year: spring, summer, autumn, and winter. So if you missed the summer assizes, then you had to wait here for 3 months until the autumn assizes, and then punishment would be meted out. And it wasn't imprisonment. It was either being whipped at the cart's tail till your back be bloody. So they tied you to the back of a horse and cart, stripped you to the waist, and whipped you all the way through the streets of Derby or whatever county town it was, brought you back here, put you back in the cell if you were still alive, and then rubbed salt into your wounds to try and heal them. And perhaps, depending on the severity of the crime that you'd committed, you'd be taken out again next week and the same thing done again. So that's one punishment. The other punishment, of course, was to be branded with a red-hot branding iron, either on the palm of the hand here with a letter T for thief or R for robber, or sometimes on the side of the cheek here with a letter T or R. That's an early form of sort of CRB check. So you try walking into a jeweler's shop with a big letter T on your face for thief. You wouldn't do it. Then there was transportation. But then, after 1723, hanging on a big scale. The crime rate had exploded because of industrialisation. And most crimes were committed against the landowners of this country who ruled, who owned. So they made 222 hanging offences in Great Britain. Behind our cameraman Jeff here, we do actually have a replica of the gallows with a cart, and you were actually taken to the gallows on a cart, sitting on the coffin you'd made for yourself inside this jail. The rope wrapped around your body and around your neck, the noose around your neck, so the crowd, because all executions were public, so the crowd could actually identify that you were the star performer. You were the one that's going to entertain them. When you got to the gallows, that was your stage, and that's where you entertained the crowd, if you were capable of even standing up. And the first thing you did was to confess to other crimes that you'd committed during your life that nobody knew about. Now, this is where we start coming into this ghost business, and why this place is so dreadfully haunted. Why would you bother to confess to crimes that nobody knew about? You're going to get away with it. You got away with it for years. Somebody might be listening. God might be listening, and he might just take pity on you. He might say, well, that was good of him to confess that. He might just have a word with St. Peter and say, hey, I'll open the gates. When he's dead, let him in. Highly unlikely, but you never know. You've got nothing to lose, have you? Or the other thing, of course, that happened was that you asked the crowd to help you because you were innocent. Or all you'd done was shot a couple of rabbits, because included in these 222 hanging offences was setting fire to haystacks. 4 men hanged in front of this building here in 1817 for setting fire to a haystack. Robbery, burglary, theft, rape, attempted murder, digging up turnips. Not your own, no, I don't think. Breaking down riverbanks, cutting down ornamental trees, stealing a sheep, stealing a cow, stealing a horse, shooting rabbits, poaching, appearing on the street with a sooty face. It was a hanging offence in Great Britain from 1723. Why would you blacken your face? You're either a thief, weren't you, or a burglar. Camouflage cream to camouflage you at night while you're out burgling. It's just beyond belief the number of hanging offences there were. So let's just deal with this business about why it's caused ghosts. So you've got a guy who shot 2 rabbits to feed his 13 children, his wife pregnant with the 14th kid, yeah, out of work, kids starving, sentenced to hang, and was hanged. Not only, of course, killing him, but probably sentencing the children to death as well. Because how's the wife going to go out and poach or work? She's not. So the kids are starving anyway. But without dad, not much chance. Then we also have a guy actually that was hanged in front of this building in 1816, Joseph Wealdon. He actually hacked his niece and nephew to death with a gorse hook. This is a scythe for hedging, not a nice weapon. And now, in my opinion, Joseph Wealdon deserved to hang. But the guy that shot the 2 rabbits to feed his kids from Lord So-and-so's estate, did Lord So-and-so eat rabbit? I doubt it. He probably ate venison, pheasant, roast beef, pork, a couple of rabbits. I doubt it. Did he miss those rabbits? No. The guy was hanged. So in 1752, they decided to make the punishment fit the crime. And they introduced what they called a terror beyond death. A terror beyond death. Right, I'm going to take you inside the jail, let you have a look around. And I just want you to think, come on, I want you to think of a terror beyond death. What's worse than death? Think about it. We'll deal with it in a bit. Do come in. Welcome to Derby Gaol. Be careful, it's haunted. That's it, we're in now. We're actually now in the corridor. These are the dungeons. This is all that's really left of Derby Gaol, because unfortunately the old jail was demolished in 1840, but they preserved the dungeons below here as, would you believe, cellars for the houses that were created above. And luckily, all the floors are real. The walls, the doors of the prison cells are all real, genuine from 1756. And basically, I'll just give you a quick tour. We're just passing the corridor here where I saw a ghost many years ago, which I'll tell you about in a bit. But continuing on down, you see the doors from the cells, and we're entering into a room, a very sad room here. This is actually a much bigger room than a prison cell. And this is known as the association room, and it was multifunctional. Basically, it's got a large window compared to small windows. It's actually got a fire to keep people warm, because basically you were allowed out of your cells to work. So you'd come in here as a day room and work. If you were a debtor, you were in prison here. That's the only people that were actually kept in prison, debtors, and weren't allowed release until until they paid the debts, which was a bit difficult. So if you were a tailor, a shoemaker, you brought your wares with you, your needle and cotton, and you repaired things and charged people. So you worked in here. But a much more sinister plan for this room was that this was the room where you said goodbye. This is the room where your family came before you were executed. Into this room, and you were brought out of the condemned cell into this room to say goodbye to your children, to your wife, your mum and dad, your brothers, your sisters, your aunts, your uncles, your friends. So this is a very tragic room, extremely haunted, as you can well imagine. They frequently see a guy sitting just here in this corner wearing a red coat. Why is he wearing a red coat? I don't know. Was he a soldier that kept his coat? Because in those days, of course, after they'd been in battle or whatever for years, you know, the coats, they'd keep them when they left the army. Or, of course, he could have been a turnkey. One of the turnkeys, of course, they're the people that, guess what they did? Unlocked the prison cells. They were the warders, the prison officers, the prison guards. And he may have been a soldier for some reason that still kept his red coat. But he's seen frequently sitting in that corner there. Anyway, after everyone had said goodbye, you were taken back to your condemned cell to await execution. And then the following morning, this room doubled up for the room where they had the hangman's breakfast. And that's where the magistrate, the sheriff, the deputy sheriff, the jailer, the officials actually had breakfast before the hanging. This was always a breakfast of deviled kidneys and bacon. And then, after they finished their breakfast, the condemned was brought into this room and paraded in front of them with their shackles on and waiting for execution. They were then taken out of here up to the front of the building and publicly strangled to death. Because you see, in those days, there was no such thing as a trapdoor and a lever. It was a cart. You were stood on the cart was drawn away, and you died slowly of strangulation, taking usually anything up to a quarter of an hour, possibly longer, to die of slow strangulation. Kicking, writhing, choking, vomiting, urinating. Stop, Richard, they've probably not had their lunch yet, only just had their breakfast. Not a pretty sight, to say the least. A dreadful form of execution. Eventually, they did invent the new drop, which was a trapdoor and a lever. But the problem was that they only ever measured the victim, they never weighed them until about 1880. So before then, didn't matter how heavy you were, all that they did was measure you. So a much heavier person got the same drop as a much lighter person. I'm afraid when the heavy person dropped through the trapdoor, the head was ripped off. It happened frequently. We never got it right. It's a vile form of execution that was conducted in this country until 1964. Between 1900 and 1964, we hanged over 800 people in this country, all suffering quite badly as well. Let's do a tour. Let's go and have a look at the cells. The doors are real, as are the bolts on the doors, the graffiti on the back, which we'll show you in a bit. Here's a typical cell. If you can see it, I'm not sure whether we can see it in this very dim light. Yes, no, possibly not. A bit, you can see the window anyway. That's something. And wander on down here to the notorious condemned cell. A room where no light can enter, no window. This is where you spent your last night on this planet. And the terrible thing about it was that the jailer who ran the jail, it was a franchise. he hired the jail from the council, and he charged his prisoners for everything. If you wanted extra straw in your mattress, you had to pay for it. If you wanted a candle, you had to pay for it. So you're a very poor person that's in here awaiting death by hanging. Can't afford a candle. So you actually spend your last night on this planet in here in the pitch black. Just imagine, guys, how insignificant your lack of sleep is. You can't sleep at night. How, because you're worried about a driving test tomorrow, an exam, compared to their last night in here, not knowing when daylight was coming around, not knowing when someone was coming to fetch them, until they heard the heavy footsteps of the jailer and the hangman coming down the corridor, unbolting the door, coming in to fetch them, to drag them out of here, to take them up the front of this building and publicly strangle them to death in front of their friends, their families. It doesn't even bear thinking about. I'm a huge believer in a thing called the stone tape theory, where I believe that emotions and recordings can be held in the fabric of the building, in the stonework, in the brickwork. Without going into the whole lecture, but I believe that something like 60% of what we refer to as ghosts are nothing more than a recording held in the fabric of the building. Stone tape theory. We're working on various machines at the moment to somehow try and extract, to press the replay button in the stonework and the brickwork here. Whether we'll ever manage it, nobody knows. I've got lots of phrases. One of them is today's magic will be tomorrow's science. And another of the many phrases is don't fear what you don't understand. But we do. We fear these recordings because it's the image of a dead person. So of course we're frightened of it. We shouldn't be. Let's carry on with that story about what happened to the guy that hacked his niece and nephew to death. And the question I asked you earlier, what possible terror can we impose on someone worse than death? We'll go to the murder room. And you can see properly now. So, we needed to create a terror worse than death. People say, torture. No, would you believe in England, torture was illegal? We used to hang, draw and quarter people. We used to swim witches by throwing them into the pond. But actual torture in England was illegal, even though we did have a rat in the Tower of London and a scavenger's daughter which crushed Catholic priests. But really, torture was illegal. So hang on, so we can't torture you. Okay, all right. People say to me, imprisonment for life. Well, that's not these days. Not too bad, is it? I mean, you can still see your family. They can come and visit you. You're alive. But no, a terror worse than death. Right, well, the first thing to explain to you is that death was commonplace. Death was not the problem. Most people were dead by 40. Their children predeceased them. They'd been in battles. There was disease. They'd seen executions. Death was commonplace. It's what happened next that was important. It was the afterlife that meant everything to people. They believed all of the mumbo jumbo that's been preached by the church for, well, as long as there's been religion, to be quite honest with you, but certainly the last 2,000 years. When Christianity invented hell, it caused hell for people because they believed they were going to burn in hell for eternity. So basically, the terror beyond death was burning in hell for eternity. That's a long time. How hot? Hotter than my fire in there. Something like 10,000 degrees centigrade, with gnashing of teeth and ripping of flesh and all the terrors of Dante's Inferno, which they believed. They believed all of this. So they knew full well that they weren't going to get in through the pearly gates. They knew that they didn't want to burn in hell for eternity. So I wonder where they went. I wonder what happened to them. So we've got this guy, Joseph Wheeldon, who hacked his niece and nephew to death. I believe he deserved to hang. The guy that shot the rabbits for the kids, I don't think he did. So in 1752, the church, God bless them, and the government came together and passed the Murder Act, which stated that no murderer was allowed to be buried. Oh, okay. Hang on a minute. Now, think about this. What did everyone crave in those days? As a phrase, another of my many phrases, laid to rest. We all needed to be laid to rest. 6 foot of English earth, a gravestone with your name on it, your family round the grave, and a Christian burial service to lay you to rest. So where are we if we're not laid to rest? We're abroad. We're a tormented soul wandering the earth. Well, hang on. What are we going to do with the body? The Murder Act stated that you be hanged by the neck until you are dead and then publicly dissected in the Shire Hall, in whatever county town it was, or if there was a surgeon's hall, which there weren't many. There was one in Newcastle, one in Edinburgh, one in London, but not many. So you, after hopefully being dead, the body was stripped, the clothes were sold to the crowd, the rope was cut up into small pieces. The hangman's rope, oh, there's one here. The hangman's rope was cut up into small pieces and sold for a shilling a piece, money for old rope, as a souvenir to the crowd. The body was taken to the Shire Hall and laid on a dissecting table. Anything up to 5,000 people viewing the body. And then the body was wired up to a battery. The eyes blinked, the chest heaved. Sometimes an arm would go up and down. People were terrified of it. They thought the body was coming back to life. But of course, they weren't far from the truth. How do we bring people back to life these days? 2 paddles, electricity? They weren't far from the truth. So, first thing that happened, after they played with your body a bit with electricity, the body was flayed. The skin was removed and taken to the local tan yard and tanned and used to bind books telling of your life and trial. If there was a big enough piece of skin, a pair of scissors for the local mayor. Then the bones were boiled in a big cauldron to get the meat off them. There's this poor guy, still got the rope round his neck. Look. What do they do with the meat? Dear, oh dear. Anyway, the bones were boiled, meat got off, then wired up to make a skeleton. This one just happens to be a real skeleton. I can't tell you that it was a hanged person, but it's a medical, real, genuine skeleton here at Derby Gaol. So after the skeleton was then wired up,
do you get much supernatural behaviour from this?
Yes, we do get supernatural behaviour from this skeleton. People see a grey, shadowy figure appear here when they've seen. Yes, we've actually got a written report on investigations here, writing the whole report of what happened with that skeleton. We don't know who it is. We believe it's female, but other than that, we don't know what happened to her. But quite something. So the bones were wired up, and then basically the situation was, and this is where the ghost of it comes in, guys. The body wasn't whole, so that meant on the day of judgment, no material resurrection for you. Where are you going to go? Do not pass go. Go straight to hell. and burn in hellfire for eternity. They knew this, the poor devils in the condemned cell. They knew that they'd been condemned not only to death, but eternal damnation, hellfire damnation. So, I know St. Peter's not going to let me in. I'm not going down there. I'll stay here, thank you. It's caused ghosts to be around places like this because of divine retribution and hellfire. I'm afraid the church is responsible for creating quite a lot of ghosts. Prove it, Richard. I can't. Guys, I can't prove any of this. I can't prove ghosts exist. I can prove the history behind it, but I can give you a very interesting instance, right? Suicide, known as self-murder. Punishable by burning in hell for eternity until 1828 in Great Britain. Suicides were not allowed to be buried in consecrated ground in the churchyard. All suicides were taken to the crossroads and buried at the crossroads with a wooden stake hammered through the heart to hold them into the ground. This is, guys, I hate to tell you this, this is where your Dracula nonsense comes from. Your zombies, your... This was to keep you in the ground, to hold you into the ground, to stop you rising from the earth, because they knew as a suicide, not being allowed into heaven, not wanting to go to hell, they knew that you would be wandering the earth as a tormented soul for eternity. So the state was to hold you into the ground. So here we go. Crossroads. You'd be confused and never know and never bother anyone. Was in the terror. Now, dissect the body tarred beforehand, after death, before your execution. The blacksmith came in to the condemned cell and measured you for your last suit, the metal cage. After you were hanged and dead, you were put into this cage and hung 30 feet in the air near the scene of the murder that you'd committed, with the fowls of the air pecking at your flesh and pecking out your eyes. Same thing applied. No burial, no laid to rest, body dropping to pieces. But not only that, but certainly with this public dissection, what you must remember is that you ceased to be. You were no longer that. Everything was removed. Your bits, your bones, your innards, your skin, everything gone, obliterated. You are obliterated from this earth, and these people were terrified. Did it stop the murders? I don't think so. But this continued till 1832. The Murder Act was an incredible, well, supposed way of stopping murder. I'm afraid it didn't work. Unfortunately, it didn't. Right, let's have a little tour.
Just to let you know, there's 20 minutes left.
Right,
20
a little
minutes.
tour. God, doesn't time fly when you're having fun? First thing I'm going to show you is where I've seen a ghost. Because, guys, there's so many ghost stories to do with this building that, unfortunately, in the hour of doing that, I haven't got. But I've seen a ghost in this building at 3:20 on a Friday afternoon in broad daylight. It was the last Friday in November, probably 15 years ago, here in this corridor. This is the corridor that the condemned walked up to the door at the top and up the steps to the front of the building to be hanged by the new drop, the trapdoor and the lever. I was literally in here, in the kitchen, when the phone went. The lights were off here because I'd come in through this door bit here. We're standing talking to a guy from Derby City Council who luckily I knew, when a grey hazy shape of a person glided down this corridor. If I've said this once, I've said it 15,000 times. It was grey. It was so distinctly grey. It was person shaped, but it wasn't male, it wasn't female, it wasn't closed. It was a grey haze, but I couldn't see through it. I couldn't see the wall as it passed. I could only see the grey haze, but I saw it and I sensed it. I saw it for at least for no corner of the eye, nothing like full face on. I was stood there, and as long as it took it to do this, past this open window, 1, 2, 3, 4 seconds, I would think. And then it came, I couldn't see it anymore because of this pillar. I said to the guy on the phone, I've just seen, I saw a bloody ghost. He said, don't do it. I said, I'm not kidding, just hang on a minute, put the phone down. Stuck my head through here, looking into the corridor to see where the person was that had just come in, and shouted, excuse me, expecting there to be someone there, and there wasn't. Then the hairs on the back of my neck stood up. I went back onto the phone. As I say, luckily I knew the guy. I said, Darren, I'm not kidding. I've just seen a ghost, and I may stay on the phone a little longer than we'd anticipated. He said, I'm sorry, Richard, I don't understand. What do you mean? I said, let me explain it. When I put this phone down, I'm on my own. So we chatted for a while. And in the end, of course, I said, well, I'm going to have to go. I put the phone down and then panicked because I realised that I got to come out of here, round here to get out, to go up the corridor where I'd just seen the only ghost I've ever seen. By the way, it was gone. Never seen it again. Never seen it again. People have problems in this corridor. My son's heard footsteps coming down this corridor when there's no one there. Another member of staff has seen a similar figure, but standing looking at him through the window here. And people on events that we do, things happen to them. They do not like this corridor, neither do I. And I've ticked all the normal boxes. Remember, guys, I'm the voice of reality. I'm the guy that's trying to prove what ghosts are. And I've ticked every normal box that I can imagine to try and disprove what I've seen. But I can't. I have one explanation for you. I saw a ghost here at 3:20 on a Friday afternoon on the last Saturday in November, many years ago. So I don't know. Right, let's very quickly do a very quick Derby Gaol door talk, because all over those doors, shall I grab the torch?
You grab the torch there, yeah.
All over these doors is the most incredible graffiti from the prisoners. And guys, you must remember that this door is in the corridor. This is done with prisoners walking up and down the corridor. Here, look at that. Sorry, this is the number of days before your execution. Scratched on there. Down here, an anchor, a mermaid. And one of the fascinating things is that an awful lot of the inscriptions on here are called apotropaic symbols, witch marks. What you must remember, guys, is that these guys were terrified of evil spirits. No, they call them witch marks, and you'll see them on the doors, and they'll see lots and lots of double V's. There's one here, look, double V there, and around there is what's known as a daisy wheel, which you'll see, which is a form, because basically you'll see there's a, so that I thought we got an awful lot of Williams in here. There's W's everywhere, but they're not. They're double V's, which means Virgin of Virgins. Mary, Mother of God, Mother of Jesus. And that's basically, and so not only that, but you also get the W, and then you get the start of these wheels, double, and all over it.
Is that a date there?
That's a date, 18 RI.
What's it? No.
Good point. But all over, look at Pat Collins. Look at the quality of his writing on this door. So all over them, there's daisy wheels and apotropaic marks. And guys, you'll find them on doorways, mantelpieces of fireplaces, and windowsills and around the windows. It was to stop evil coming in to the house. But in the case of these poor guys here, it was to stop the evil coming in through the door into their cell. They were terrified. This one full again of graffiti. The other thing you'll see on them as well is a saltire, which is the cross of St. Andrew, which again is another witch mark. Apotropaic. Well, there's one there above this date, 1791, and poor old ED must have signed that. And he put these on. There's another W there, oh, look at this, all over it. Absolutely.
Johnson there, is it?
Yeah, down here, one of the best ones I have, one of the best ones is here. If you can get down there, Mr. Cameraman, it says J. Poole for pure love. June the 8th. 1808. What did J. Poole do for pure love that brought them in here? Absolutely incredible.
GB there.
Say again.
There's me there, GB.
GB, there you go.
Oh,
Yes,
my God.
down to the condemned cell. Get the cameraman up.
We need to get some young people in.
This door from a debtor's cell. Most incredible inscription on here. And it says, J. Taylor, Measham, for a £10 debt, 1807. What did? Well, we know what J. Taylor did. They owed money. But of course, guys, you must remember that in those days, £10 was quite a lot of money.
It's a big,
and that's Jack Daniels, JD.
The J's are the same style as the
JD.
Mermaid.
Yep. And then here to the condemned cell, of course. And right before your execution, you would scratch a gallows on the door with your initials inside. WM.
Every time I look at these doors, I see something different.
JH. WH. This guy here, Brown, he was hanged, one of the 4 men hanged for setting fire to a haystack, hanged in front of this building. It just, this one here.
You've traced a lot of these names back to the...
We're tracing a lot of these people back now, the history. S. Noon from Ilkeston in Derbyshire, condemned the 20th of May, 1818. But all over them, St. Andrew's crosses. There, 2 there, 2 St. Andrew's crosses there. 1 there, Mr. Brown, to protect him while he's inside. Look, St. Andrew's cross, witch marks, 2 St. Andrew's crosses there. Apotropaic, well, you'll find them. I say, door. If you've got an old building, check round the doorways, check round the windows, the fireplaces, whoops, to see if you have any witch marks, because you'll find them in sort of buildings going back to the 17th and 16th century, all over the doors. And just to take you down to what I believe to be the very best inscription in the whole of Derby Gaol is to this door here. This one here. Up here again, same old witch mark. That's St. Andrew's cross. Witch marks all over the doors. But here, my favourite of all times. 2 guys on the gallows. See where his feet are? Where his feet are. And then This is called an ampersand. This is an 18th century and. That's P and B. And luckily, P and B have signed it again here. P and B. And they've given me a date. 1804. So we go to the Derby Mercury, the newspaper of the time. On Friday last, Richard Booth, age 40, and John Parker, age 24, for horse stealing, were executed on the gallows near this town, pursuant to their sentence at the last assizes. Parker appeared very penitent and was much affected, but Booth, who was 6 feet 4 inches high, look, when he scratched that on this door, he made himself that much taller than his mate Parker. He was 6 feet 4 inches high and who had been condemned to death 3 times before being hanged at Derby, and exhibited in his conduct at the place of execution the most hardened depravity, and died a wretched example of the fatal consequence of idleness, keeping bad company, and exciting by depredations upon the public. Wow. If I live long enough to write the book on Derby Gaol, that will be the front cover.
It talked about your gravestone. That
it had to be. It's probably that is quite something. Actually, these doors, when I took this building over, these were painted. They've been painted since 1840. We couldn't see what was on, but we knew there was graffiti, and I had them professionally dipped to get the paint off, and that's when we found these incredible graffiti messages from the dead, for want of a better word. But again, I must say, messages from the dead we get in here all the time. This place is extremely haunted and extremely active. It may not be very big, but certainly when you're talking of prison cells, size is not everything. It really is quite a very haunted building. Certainly the most haunted building in Derby. I have had Derby declared the most haunted city in Great Britain. So that means surely Derby Gaol is the most haunted building in Great Britain. Of course, don't forget that Britain probably has more ghosts than anywhere else in the world. Probably makes Derby Gaol the most haunted building in the world. That is not too bad. How long have I got?
You have, I think, another 10 minutes, 7 minutes.
Oh no, 7 minutes. That's tremendous.
7 minutes.
That's all right. Yeah. I mean, basically, if I can just very quickly, guys, I think we've dealt with just about everything to do with the jail here. If I could just explain to you very quickly, I believe that. Well, see, I've obviously written various books, but I've written a book called "What is a Ghost?" on sale at richardfelix.co.uk. Get the plug in. And basically, I'm trying to explain what ghosts are, the reality behind ghosts, not the Scooby-Doo, not the fear factor, because in my opinion, ghosts are not there to scare you. Ghosts were you and me. Ghosts were human beings. And in my opinion, this is all my opinion, most people are very nice, most of them. Not all of them, most of them are very nice. Does that not mean that most ghosts are very nice? Of course it does. Because your ego, your personality, your consciousness, your spirit, your soul, you, your mind, you goes. And wherever it goes, that was you. And so if you're a nasty, evil person when you're alive, then that ego goes with you. But most people aren't nasty and evil. Most people are very nice, apart from probably the mother-in-law and the boss at work. But other than that, most people are very nice. That means ghosts are not there to get you. But of course, we love the scare factor. And that's what, of course, most ghost programs are all about. Because we love to be scared.
I think Janet's, are you coming back in again? Is it Janet?
Hello, Richard.
Hello.
Thank you ever so much for your tour.
What was that?
Yeah, sorry. Say again, Karen. You couldn't quite hear
I said thank you so much for doing your tour today. We really do appreciate it.
Not a problem.
Can you please tell everybody a little bit more about your books, your DVDs that you have,
thank you
and
very much.
also about the events
Yeah,
that happen, so people can go on your website and find you and come and visit once COVID's over.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, guys. Yeah, I mean, basically, I do ghost walks, ghost tours. We do night vigils here in Derby Gaol. We are doing them, but they are at the moment a bit limited. But we are doing them. But basically, book-wise, I've written a book called "What Is a Ghost: Supernatural or Science?" Guys, it'll blow your mind. Because I believe I've come up with some rational explanations as to what the ghost business is all about. It's $12.99. It's available from richardfelix.co.uk, or you can buy it from Amazon. It's on Kindle as well, and we've just brought out something. Wow, it actually comes out today. Would you believe? Couldn't be better. It's called The People's Ghost Stories. It's your ghost stories. And that's also available from richardfelix.co.uk. And I've done up to now 42 counties of Great Britain on DVD, on video, called The Ghost Tour of Great Britain. And you can buy them on richardfelix.co.uk. If anybody's got any stories or accounts or anything they want to talk to me about, email me on richardfelix@gmx.com. richardfelix@gmx.com. Only too pleased to talk to you. Love to have your ghost stories, because we'll put them in volume 2.
Richard, I just want to say thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you for doing your tour. And we will put all the links in the comments so people know where to find you. And you take care. You stay there. I will talk to you in just a moment.
Karen, can I just say something? We are open generally the last Saturday of the month during the daytime on a Saturday. If people would like to come and have a personal tour.
Thanks so much.
Fantastic. Okay, so I will speak to you in just a moment. You stay there, Richard, and we'll put everything, all the links in the comments for you.
No problem.
Thank you for everyone for watching. Don't forget the next one up is Dave Hodrian. So please stay with us and continue watching. We don't end until tomorrow night. Thank you, Richard.
Enjoy yourselves, guys.